If you spare a little of your imagination, it is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter. The film you are about to see is a film to describe to you and explain visually the effect of cymatic frequencies on texture, structure, water, oil. You will see many things that answer many questions. The earth itself coming into existence. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. We are told that this is how the worlds began and how creation took shape. If we put that into the modern idiom and say that into the great voids of space came a sound and matter took shape. Please watch carefully.
Years ago, there were no stars in the sky. There wasn't even a sky.
Something happened. In a flash, everything suddenly expanded. This was how it all began. The first moment of existence.
All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter.
Matter seems like a good place to begin. The solidity of the world seems totally indisputable. As a fixed thing that you can see and touch, your body is also reassuringly solid. But beginning with Einstein, modern physics has assured us that this solidity is a mirage.
All of physical matter, everything we have around us, is the result of a frequency. And what that also means is that if you amplify the frequency, the structure of the matter will change.
We can also use different shapes of plate. Here we have a triangular plate with a crystal attached to its underside and produce a sonorous figure. We change to a higher note and see a rather more complicated figure. We use sand and lycopodium. The lycopodium moves to the center of the fields and takes up circular shapes. The sand forms the lines. Each material has its own special way of behaving. The sonorous figures represent stationary waves, but now we can also observe moving waves. Here, the sand is flowing in a current. In vibrating glycerin, we see continuous waves which form the queerest figures. And yet, the extraordinary things we see here are simply and solely the effect of vibration.
Now, what we've seen up until now are single signals, single frequencies projected in the matter. And what you're seeing here now are interference patterns of 2 or more frequencies resulting in a pulse. The pulse of the human heart, the pulse that drives the blood through the veins in your bodies. What is your heart responding to? Where does that pulse come from?
Fear has a long and slow frequency vibration to it, while love has a very rapid and high frequency. To show that vibration is the very foundation of existence, Hans Jenny developed what is known as cymatics in the 1940s to show that when vibrations of sound are passed through a form of media, there is a set pattern that will follow. When the frequency increases, the media develops into a more complex pattern. Precisely what is happening to our Earth and to humanity. There are 64 possible codes of amino acids in our DNA structure made from 4 elements: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. By any means of logic, we should have all 64 codes activated within our DNA structure. Yet we presently only have 20 active codes.
And these 64 possibilities, it appears that only 20 of these codes are turned on right now for us, the 20 amino acids. There is a switch that turns off and turns on where those coding sites lie, and that the switch for that turning off and turning on is what we call emotion. And this is the first time that we've ever seen the patterns of emotion directly physically linked to human genetic material. Well, fear is a long, slow wave of emotion. So this wave of fear is a long, slow wave and touches relatively few sites on this DNA. So an individual living in fear is limited to the number of antennae that they have available to them, whereas an individual living in the pattern of love, this is love in DNA, you can see it's a higher frequency, shorter wavelength. We have many more potential sites for coding along that genetic pattern. This information, this is amazing. This is the first time we've ever had a hard digital link between emotion and genetics.
This is the story of you. Who you are started with DNA inherited from your mom and dad. Your DNA makes up your genome, the genetic blueprint that makes you, you. Turns out, there's a higher level of complexity called the epigenome. Here's how it works. As you go through life making choices, your epigenome adds genetic tags to your DNA. Good lifestyle choices turn healthy genes on and unhealthy genes off.
Now, she talks about them in terms of healthy lifestyle decisions. But I have a friend of ours was studying biology and came across a very similar study, if not the same study. And she was talking about some sort of focus group that was done with people who had made poor lifestyle decisions, like committing adultery or murder. And apparently they found that in these focus groups, where they had a whole group of people who committed the same poor lifestyle decision, they all had a genetic marker on their DNA, like a scar, at the same point on their DNA. So everybody who committed adultery had the same genetic marker in the same spot on their DNA, a scar. Likewise, people who committed murder, they had a different mark in a different place. So could it be, I mean, when we talk about sin, they're referring to them as poor lifestyle decisions. Let's just call them sin. That's how our sin is actually passed on to the third and fourth generation, genetically, through these, what she calls epigenetic markers. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not a biologist. I don't know enough about it to talk authoritatively, but I find it very interesting.
Dr. Emoto has conducted another interesting experiment. He placed rice into 3 glass beakers and covered it with water. And then every day for a month, he said, "Thank you" to one beaker, "You're an idiot" to the second, and the third one he completely ignored. After 1 month, the rice that had been thanked began to ferment, giving off a strong, pleasant aroma. The rice in the second beaker turned black, and the rice that was ignored began to rot. Dr. Emoto thinks that this experiment provides an important lesson, especially with regard to how we treat children. We should take care of them, give them attention, and converse with them. Indifference does the greatest harm.
Okay, today is day 76 of the rice experiment. And we'll have a look at how the rice is doing. Okay, here is the rice I speak positively to every day. And there is no green mold whatsoever. Just a little bit of white. But that's it. It looks all right. Not too bad. Okay, now for the rice I speak to negatively. It's just awful. Whole lot of green mold. It's gotten even darker. And green mold there. So there we go. So speak to negatively every day. And the ignored rice has gotten a whole lot worse. Now there's a whole lot more. And it's got, look at the, it's like brown and orange and white. A whole lot of mold. It's gotten like really brown. Horrible color. Anyways, so that's the rice I ignore. So find it really interesting after 76 days that the positive rice is still looking so good compared to these two. There. I mean, wow. So anyways, I'll keep you updated and probably go on with this for a bit longer. Keep you updated.
"13 days of love and 13 days of negative energies. If this is what happens to a rice, what happens to you when you have good or bad thoughts?"
everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.